All right, it's running down to the string as we close out the UC podcast. Got my guys here, Josh Schrock and Glynn Morgan, our Bears insider. Of course, you know the draft prognosticator. I apologize.
That too. All those things.
Yeah. No, and football know-it-all. The Bears lost this afternoon at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indy, 21-16. In a head-scratcher offensively, Bears rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, 33 for 52 attempts. Yes, 52 attempts, 363 yards, 2 touchdowns to go along with 2 interceptions. I won't dive quick into it. I'll leave that for Josh and Glenn. But a questionable goal line series with 4 straight runs, ending with an option out of the pistol.
That's right.
All right, let's just jump straight into how Caleb performed in the offense. Josh Schrock, our Bears insider.
I think that Caleb's stats are kind of like lipstick on a pig. I think if you take away garbage time, I mean, basically, if you take away everything that happened after they were down 21-9, his passer rating is about 44. He was really good when the Colts played back and weren't allowing explosives and they went tempo. That's all good. I thought he had some nice moments. The 47-yard pass to Odunze down the sideline was a dime. I thought the throw to Carter over the middle, I thought was probably his best throw of the day. He kind of navigates a muddy pocket, climbs it, throws with anticipation. It was like, okay, there it is. But overall, I mean, the offense is it stinks. Like there's no excuse for the Bears to come into this game against a Colts team who last week faced Malik Willis and let the Packers run for 300 yards. And they cannot run the football. It is upsetting. I mean, and it's not just that they can't. I mean, Shane Waldron honestly seems like he's allergic to it. Like it was too much 11 personnel out of the gun, and then we go into 13, but we're throwing out of 13. I don't know what the hell they were doing, honestly. As far as Caleb goes, a lot of good. The turnovers, I mean, the picks can't happen, right? The first one, he's completely out of rhythm. He throws late. Easy jump. And the second one, he throws to, I mean, he said he was giving Odunze a chance. It's still a bracketed receiver in the NFL. That's not NFL open. You're not throwing that. Like that ball's getting picked off. Like, and that's going to be part of the learning process, which you see that he's still going through. He still does he thinks he can pirouette out of every pressure and then, throw the jump pass. And it's like, man, that's just not going to work this level a lot. That's not going to get it done. The talent's still immense. Obviously he's got a ton of growing to do, but I would just be really concerned as a guy who, when they hired Shane Waldron, was like, this is a great hire. I mean, Ken, he wasn't our first guy. We wanted Clint Kubiak. We were pounding the table, but we thought Shane Waldron was an excellent hire. It has been not good. I mean, it's been bad. I mean, I have no defense. The option play, I honestly thought I had a stroke in the press box watching it. It was the most insane play call. I mean, they go on this 17-play drive. They get down to the 4-yard line. They go in the wildcat for 1, and then they go dive twice for nothing or for like 1.5 yards. And then they go at 13 personnel, motion into the pistol, and run a speed option to the short side, and they lost 12 yards.
Crazy.
They said, we talked to guys after the game, and they were like, we saw a look from the Colts that they go 6-by-1 inside the 5. We wanted to get some speed. And we got to the line, and they gave us a different look. And Caleb said he didn't want to change it because they got out of the huddle late. We'll get to that. But, man, you had 1 timeout. I don't even care, man. If you're Flus, man, you got to bang the timeout. And we got to do something else, or we got to just take 3. You cannot run that play. Like, what is that play call?
It's the most baffling thing ever. And just to hear the old lady asking me what the hell are they doing, it was just that right there encapsulate the beginning of this Shane Waldron's run as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But you hit the key right there. It still applies upon the CEO, and that's Flus. But Glenn, your thoughts on Caleb and the offense this game in Indianapolis?
There's some good stuff. Josh was killing it and nailing just about all the things that went wrong before the first half was done, really, to be quite honest with you. The Bears dug themselves a hole and kept putting dirt in it on top of it. It was just really weird stuff. I'm in the bowling alley, and that play you referenced earlier being 4th down and on the going for it, when they got to the pistol, everybody said, Looks like they're about to option to the left.
Right.
and you saw not only that, but the Colts had more players on that side of the field anyway, so you were already outnumbered. And then you had 5 guys. You had 5 guys just bearing down. And no, Caleb was no way. Caleb, like, I'm pitching.
Oh no, I'm getting
I'm getting rid of this.
Right. You don't even have Anthony Richardson. You don't have a quarterback who's going to bowl someone over. Caleb was like, no thanks. Absolutely not. No way. Boy, you take this one. That's on you, big dog.
And there were 5 people there, and I felt so bad for Swift because he's been catching it, as far as social media goes, in terms of, this guy's no good, and what are you doing with him? And if he's not catching it, Shane Waldron's catching it. Why are you running a guy who's a perimeter guy inside? I mean, all these things, and then you do that play. I'm like, right before half, it's like, take the points. It's just 7-0 at that point, really. You could have had something positive come out of what was relatively one of your better drives. It turns out one of your better drives that day. So the thing I took away that was troubling, aside from the play calling, was the Bears coaching staff's inability to want to protect and develop and nurture Caleb. I think they're putting way too much on him way too soon. You referenced Malik Willis earlier, and you look at he signed, he got traded. It's like August 26th, it was like late August to Green Bay. 27 days later, he wins the game, going like, I think it's 12 for 14 or something like that. Yep. Basically, and he's a dual option, a dual threat quarterback, So you have a guy who has basically 324 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 114 yards rushing, and 1 rushing touchdown, and 2 wins. And he just got to the team. And what I'm saying is, it's coaching, understanding what your players can and can't do, putting them in a situation where they can thrive and survive, as opposed to having to try to fight for survival, during the course of a game, which we see Caleb doing time and time again. If you put Caleb continually in situations where he has to become Superman or do what he thinks are super heroic things, you're going to get a lot of what we've seen today, a lot of what we saw throughout the season so far, and he's going to overthrow. He's going to miss. He's going to make mistakes, and he's going to have compound mistakes, and that's what we saw today. Really, the Bears were their own worst enemy. Yeah,
I mean, the thing, like, we talk about the Colts' run defense. The Bears didn't make the Colts stop the run. Like, they never just like got into 12 and ran it up the middle. And when they did, it was like 6, 7, 8 a pop. And they just like do it once to be like, all right, cool, did it. All right, going back in the gun. Let's do this now. It's like, no, just keep. And I mean, the second interception, they go into 13 personnel and they run play action when they hadn't run the ball to 13 personnel all day long. Like, the linebackers didn't bite, the safeties just hung back, and then he threw it in a bracket coverage and got picked off. It's insane. Like, we asked Caleb after the game, we're like, can you guys, as an offense, have an identity of you throwing the ball 50 times? And he was like, I threw the ball 52 times? We're like, yeah. And he's like, I'll do whatever I need to. Like, you could tell he was like shocked. Like, he's like, I can't believe it. Like, to drop him back 60 times against this defense that can't stop the run it's insane. Like, and like, anytime they tried to run the ball, it was cute stuff, right? It was like sweep. It was like an extended stretch. It's like, no, just line up and go up the middle. They don't have Buckner. They can't stop it. And once they stop it, then do something else.
To your point, Caleb sacked 4 times. The team is going to the Colts defense, 7 tackles for loss, 6 QB hits to go along with 4 pass deflections. Yep. Last week, Josh, here on this show, we were screaming for 13, 3 tight ends, 1 back. We were screaming for 12, 2 tight ends, 1 back. As you said, they got cute when they went 13. The biggest thing last week we were screaming about was Roschon Johnson being implemented into this game. And your point being they didn't even take advantage of it. And look, we were pro Roschon, but we was like, y'all landing on thick last year. You can back it down.
Oh yeah, we were like, okay, maybe he's not a pillar of the franchise. Maybe he's just
a captain automatically off the bus. But still, when you looked at the fact that they needed a bruiser and you still didn't totally implement the bruiser that you needed, because right now you don't need speed, meaning Swift and Khalil Herbert. You need to and the offensive line still has issues, but we talked about the issues at center, but taking more advantage of what Shelton can actually do, and that's move throughout the run game, because you don't want him in pass blocking. It's much pass blocking, obvious situations, but the thoughts on you kind of said it, Josh, as far as your thoughts on the run game. Glynn, I want to get your thoughts on what you thought about the run game this past game in Indy.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what you're saying. Early on, when you see Roshan having success, they're running in the interior, and he's doing a good job moving through, sifting through. He's finding he's not wasted space. He's not trying to out juke you, out move you. He's trying to move through you if he can. And they had success with that. And then they got away from him. And then I see them like, why are you doing a toss pitch to Roshan? That's not his strength right now. And then a couple of passes to him, like, that's great, that's fine, but he has to gather himself, and he's not explosive. I mean, Herbert and Swift are better at that. It's coming down to the usage of your personnel, and then the misusage of your personnel once you have them out there, and it is confounding. And I understand Shane Waldron; he's still learning what everyone can do, but that's kind of what practice is for. That's kind of what the 4 preseason games you had, an extra preseason game you had, and I'm wondering, like, is Khalil Herbert in someone's doghouse because he barely saw the field at all, and it's like, how can he get going? How can you have any running back create some type of rhythm if you're constantly moving them in and out? And when they're doing successfully, you take them out.
Right.
So they have to restart again. It's like it's such a start, stop, and go. And as to Josh's point, it's not because of culture making you do that. Right. You're doing it yourself. And conversely, the culture like, okay, look, Richardson, you are killing us with some of these passes. You are missing wide open. You know what? Let's run the ball. Right. We have an offensive line. Let's run the ball. And I swear to God, I'm looking at Nelson. I'm like, he looks like Steve Hutchinson out there. Like Sean Alexander and Steve Hutchinson is what it reminded me of. And you're seeing it an excellent. And I get it. Taylor's a better running back than any of the 3 we have probably combined. But you're giving your players opportunities to be able to be successful in what they do best. And you kept at it, and you made the Bears, who are a pretty good run defense, you made the Bears not look as good a run. They gave 110 yards to just him alone. And even the other touchdown run they gave to Sermon, or not run, but as far as a big move big play that he had, it was like, man, dude, like, can everybody run against us today? No, but you kept at it. And even though they got nothing from Richardson, I think he was like 50% today, 2 interceptions. He gave you nothing passing the ball, and you still ran the ball and won. And I'm like, so you're basically doing what we did to Tennessee, what we did a lot last year. You're running the ball, and you're protecting your quarterback because he's killing you. So you said, you know what, I'm going to stop you from killing us, and we're just going to run the ball and let our defense keep us in the game, see what may have at it. And it turned out they ended up winning the game. It's not a complicated scenario. It's not a complicated, formula to do. And we're seeing teams do it. We see Green Bay doing it with. They're getting away with winning with Malik Willis, who nobody wanted. And he's great. He's getting better. It's like Jordan Love. Take your time. Take another week, son. Take 2.
Right.
You're seeing it, and I'm not going to mention the name, but you're seeing it in the AFC North with a team. It's called the Steel City. You're seeing it there. You even saw it with Detroit a little bit with Goff. Okay, look, let's pull it back. You got, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Let's pull it back a little bit. Let's get our guys, and you protect your quarterbacks, and that's what good coaching is. And here, Sam Darnold. I don't know if I spoke it with you guys, but before the season began, I thought that was one of the best moves Minnesota could do. And right now, you have a guy who understands the concepts. The wording may be a little different, but the concept's the same. With an offensive personnel that are used to playing with each other, basically. He comes into the system or comes onto the team. It's just a matter of acclimating with the players, but conceptually, everyone's on the same page. And he is looking really good right now. But again, they're not asking him to do more than he's capable. And now you're seeing him become more and more confident. And he's playing with such confidence. It's like, oh yeah, that's a top 5 pick right there. And they're undefeated. Green Bay has 2-1. Steel City is 3-0. And there are other teams that are doing things similarly. And we're not, and we are becoming our own worst enemy, as I said earlier.
Well, I think, go ahead, Josh. I say what it comes down to, I think that I'm going to write about this for tomorrow, but Glynn kind of hit it on the head is like, and you talked about earlier, Ken, like the coaching at every level for the Bears is a massive issue. Like the Bears should not still be trying to decide what type of runs they are good at. You had 6 months to decide what are we good at. You cannot be in week 4 and not know, oh, well, DeAndre Swift's actually not really good at this type of run. Maybe we should do something else. He 13 carries, 20 yards, 0% success rate. You know how hard that is? And that's not DeAndre. That's not all on DeAndre Swift. That's on the coaching staff not putting him in a position because they're still trying to figure out what kind of runs we want to do. Maybe we'll do a toss sweep to Roshan, and then we're going to go dive. It's like, man, how do you not know your personnel? Like, I don't understand, and we can get to the blown timeout later from Flus. But just from a Shane Waldron standpoint, his calling card is supposed to be teaching and adapting to personnel. And I haven't seen it. And if he's so stuck, if he spent all this time dialing up 11 because he thought Keenan Allen was going to make it 17 games, brother, you better adapt.
That's crazy.
That's
You shouldn't even have begun the season. But, Josh, you shouldn't have even begun the season like that because you're putting – I know you are. This is for everybody else. You're putting too much on Caleb by trying to do everything out of 11. You simplify this shit. It doesn't make sense. Like, so for me, one of my questions I wanted to ask both of you, and Josh, you kind of tapped on it. So, Glynn, I'll ask you, one, the DeAndre Swift, people going at him and saying it was a waste of money. I've been hearing that in the streets. Real quick, I want to shout out Mike Hamilton. He's a big fan of the show. I saw him a few days ago. So shout out, Mike. Appreciate you watching the show. But he mentioned DeAndre Swift. Glynn, you mentioned DeAndre Swift. But also, you talked about with Shane Waldron, and we'll talk about the blown timeout by Flus. You talked about Shane Waldron, and I want to know, to go along with Swift, both of you, how much of Caleb. So can we say that Caleb, with what he's been thrown into, is seeming to be decent at what a young quarterback should be? And I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm asking, is there worry with what he's kind of thrown into when there seems to be at this point some ineptitude when it comes to offensive play calling and scheming for game to game?
I was worried somewhere between the second and the third quarter. I really was. I was even advocating, like, if he comes back, Caleb that is, and has a couple of bad turnovers, like really bad ones, just for his sake, confidence. Not because I think it would be that he doesn't feel confident, but because he'll keep pressing. Young man, you know what? It's our fault. We're doing this to you. Let's pull you out, because I don't want to create a situation where you're overthinking more than what you already are, or you're taking too much of the onus, because Caleb seems to be a person who is very intently focused, and he seems to take every microbe to its fullest extent, meaning that every little tiny thing means everything to him in ways. And he's a perfectionist, is what I'm getting at, And when a person like that, sometimes you become your own worst enemy. And I didn't want that to happen. That being said, to Caleb's credit, and again, I put a lot of this, just Caleb, he stuck with it, came back, and almost the spirit is still just throwing the ball. A couple of times he almost got picked again, throwing across the middle a little bit late.
He would die to throw another one. He would die to throw another one.
He almost threw a couple. He was late a lot and behind a little bit, and that's a timing thing. But he wasn't deterred, and I felt that okay, he's not deterred. He's broken, but not he's not broken. He's not unbowed. I'm going to go Invictus here, but it just felt like he was bloody but unbowed, and that's fine. And I don't mind that. It's just that you can't go another 3 weeks doing that to him, because what's going to invariably happen is you are going to. You're going to delay his effectiveness, and you have a potential here of making it something problematic that shouldn't be a problem, because it's not because he doesn't know what he's doing or he hasn't had the ability to do it. He's being put in more and more difficult, sometimes almost impossible situations, unnecessarily so, when you have enough around you to take a lot of that weight off of him. And they just keep keeping more on him. And I don't understand why they're doing that, particularly since this is his, third game as a professional.
Yeah, I mean, I think two parts of it. One, I think Caleb deserves credit because he's getting better. Like he's making the steps, he's making the mistakes you expect, and it's okay. Like there's nothing that you see right now where you're like, oh, that's a problem. But I think the issue that you're getting to, Glynn, and that I would say is like we expected them to have a good run game, because the idea of this entire season is you were given this rare prospect who is super talented, but is still raw, and he needs to be developed. The footwork needs to be polished. He needs to work on playing within the scheme, within structure, which Caleb wants to do. It's not that he can't do it, but when you ask him to throw 52 times, most of which is out of 11, or we're going empty, and you're asking him to do all this stuff, and it's like, hey, also have really good footwork. Don't be late. Be in rhythm all the time. While the offensive line is breaking down, while you're handling everything, that's way too much for a guy who has these things to work on. And to Caleb's credit, like the talent is so good, he can put up 367 yards or whatever while having these issues. But that's not what this is supposed to be. This whole season is supposed to be about, hey, set him up for success, get his feet wet. Let's make sure he can do everything that we want. And then you turn him loose at the end. And then in year 2, you're ready to take off. Because I think the worry is, and Ken, we talked about this last week, this line is so bad Like, you do not want to see some of the things you're already seeing where Caleb's already starting to bail early because he knows the pressure's coming. Like, and you don't want to see that. You want him to get to his drop. And to his credit, on the strip sack, the only reason he got strip sacked was because he said he didn't want to bail. He was like, I saw Rome coming open, and I wanted to make a little movement to create space so I could rip it, and I didn't create enough space because Latu was on me. But I think you see it sometimes, and you saw it a lot last week, is he's like 1-2, and he's already starting drifting. He's like, nope, I got to get out of here. I got to try to peer away. I got to do my own thing. And that's the opposite of what you wanted. The whole point of getting DeAndre Swift and Shane Waldron was run the football. Easy access throws to Keenan Allen, make him throw 20 times a game, and then at the end of the year when you need him, he's ready. 52 times. It's insane. I can't 52 times. 52 times.
Dude, it's crazy.
Against a team that can't stop the run.
It's Dylan Gabriel numbers first game out of the year for Oregon.
It's insane.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's honestly it's honestly unacceptable. Like that. That's not. Dude, that's unacceptable.
It's also unacceptable knowing what we knew about Indy and how you had to offensively attack them. That you ended up in this situation when you knew you needed to run the ball down their throats, as you mentioned it with DeForest Buckner being out. That you didn't, one, knowing their personnel. Also, that goes to your head coach, who was their defensive coordinator, knowing their personnel to start to calm this ish down. I will say this as a positive to Caleb. That play where he pirouetted and zigged back and shook the living hell out of the defender, and then hit that right there was like
that was cold as hell. That was cold.
Yeah, that's why we got you, boy. That right there. I would say that is why we got you here. You mentioned, of course, the time management gap, Josh, and the timeout by Flus. Thoughts on Flus? We were riding high with what's going on defensively, but as he said, when he got this job, he's the CEO of both sides of the ball, and you know the precarious situation you can be in this year if the offense doesn't get going. But also at some point, there's only so much a defense can take if the offense isn't necessarily getting them off the field or having them on the field too often, but also not applying points when the defense knows it can be special. And it doesn't show in the numbers, but we're getting a lot more pressure than we thought that we were going to get from the front four when Darrell Taylor went down, and that's let you know how bad things are. I was like, oh no, not Darrell, right? Like when you got to play, not Darrell. So thoughts on the timeout by Flus, and also the rest of his job right now overall, with us nearing almost the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, the blown time. That's once again, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. This is how it works. They got the ball to start the drive, and I guarantee you, Harry was on the headset at the start of the drive and was like, "Hey guys, if we score, we're gonna go for 2. Get a play ready." They score, and then for some reason, the kicking team is on the field, and we talked to everyone in the locker room after, and they're like, "Yeah, we all thought we were gonna kick it." Why in the holy hell would you kick the ball? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, that's on Flus. Like, I mean, if Richard Hightower just sent him out there, if he wasn't paying attention, it's all on Flus, man. Like, Flus can say, we need to be better from top to bottom, from booth to sideline. We got to be better. We got to be this and that. Man, like, people forget, and I tried not to harp on this too much in the offseason when we were talking about his beard and his really cool style. This is still the same guy that was this close to getting fired. He was this close to getting fired. And I don't know if getting a new beard makes you a better coach. I think he's a tremendous defensive coordinator. I think he can dial it up with the best of them. But the CEO stuff, like, it's the same thing with the option. Like, you hear that play call come in the headset, and I don't give a damn if you practice it. No, man, absolutely not. No, hey, do something different. I don't care what it is. We're not running a pistol speed option to the short side.
Have you seen my house? Do you want me to lose that lakefront property, sir?
Right. No, but it's like, it's also like the in-week preparation, right? Like I'm in all the offensive meetings. I'm doing breakfast club with the quarterbacks. I'm meeting with Caleb. That's all well and good. But when you're putting this game plan together, the game plan cannot be, oh, well, we think the Colts are probably going to try to maybe shore up their really shitty run defense. So what we're not going to do is run the ball. No. The plan has got to be, we're going to come out in 12-13 and run it until they stop it. And then we'll go to something else. And like the first drive, they're moving it, right? They get to the other side of midfield. They're like, I mean, they are not even on the edge of Cairo's range unless he really drives it. And they don't even try to like get 5 yards to make it comfortable. They call 2 just deep passes and we're hunting touchdowns. Why are you hunting touchdowns? You score 1 touchdown all damn season. Run the ball, get 5 or 6 yards, and kick the field goal.
You know how I feel about that with them going forward on fourth all the damn time. And
Right.
of course, you could say when it was too far out, but they did it again when you could have needed those 3 points.
Right.
Glenn, I'll let you jump. But that for me with Flus and the gambler mentality, sometimes it gets too crazy because they've never been good enough offensively to be gambling like that.
That part. You
That's
know who
the thing.
you know who gambles like that? The Chiefs.
Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell. But you're right. The Chiefs. But you look at what Ben Johnson, and also I take shots at him. What Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, but when you have a functioning, consistent offense, please gamble. And it's cool if you gamble occasionally, particularly if teams aren't ready for it. But you're a known gambler. You're always at the table taking L's, and he continues to do it. I'm sorry, Glenn. I didn't mean to go on like that.
No, it was very entertaining. Please continue. No, I mean, it's really weird because he's a defensive coordinator, and traditionally, usually defensive coordinators are what? Conservative.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and although Riverboat Ron wasn't, again, he would do it with teams whose identity you knew what it is, what it was at the point in time. We're still trying to figure that identity out, so it doesn't make any sense to me for you to take an unnecessary gamble. First half, 7-0, and you have an opportunity to kick a field goal, you'd be down 7-3. You tried 3 plays to get 1.5, 2 yards, and you couldn't do it. Kick the field goal. Right. Give yourself some kind of win. It doesn't make sense. And it's almost like he's being reactionary because it's like, I'm going to be accused of not going forward or being aggressive. I need to be aggressive. It's like he goes into each week, I've got to stay aggressive. Well, just because you're conservative doesn't mean you're passive.
Right.
Don't beat yourself. Don't add to that. And you look at a coach like Mike Tomlin, again, a defensive coordinator. Why is it that he's never had a losing season? And he's had some questionable talent at questionable positions throughout his tenure there. You don't beat yourself. Take the points. It's like they forgot how to play football. And Steichen the Colts did a little bit too. It's like, hey, you drafted the punter in the 4th round. He's got a leg. Use him. Your kicker. He's one of the most accurate kickers. 50 yards in, not 55. He's not Fairbairn from the Texans. Oh. Where you're kicking every 55-yard, you make it. He's not that guy. But he's 50 in, no win, all day.
Exactly.
Don't do that to him because now you're giving up what? Field position. It's so crucial. And it's driving me crazy that you don't understand that and utilize that to your benefit, to the detriment of the other team. Pin their asses back inside the 20, inside the 10-yard line. Why aren't you doing that? It makes no sense. It's football. It's like they forgot how to play football. I don't know what idiot it was. I say idiot just because I'm frustrated. Whoever it was that started just going for it all the time. Hey, well, you're doing it. That's the new NFL. That's the new NFL. It's what we do now. No. Everyone's passing. You don't have to. The Titans were winning when they weren't just passing all the time. Other teams, the Ravens weren't passing all the time. You can win and be effective. Just know who you are. Do what you need to do to make yourself more successful and not create situations where you become unsuccessful unnecessarily so. And for whatever reason, here we are 3 years into this, once again, a slow start. And a lot of it is because of what we're doing. And I don't understand why you don't practice. Here's what drives me crazy, and I don't quite get it. It's like we need to do all these disparate things. We got to be good at, we got to have all these bells and whistles and play effing football, man. Hit the guy in front of you. This team, this offensive line, when it has been the best when it's been at its best, it's when it's been run blocking.
Yep.
You hit hat on hat. Not even so much zone blocking. Just I move you, you get out the way, I run someone behind you, deal with it. And now it's like I look at the offensive line, and as bad as it's been, I don't know what the percentage is or how much I want to blame the players themselves. Obviously, they're clearly a part of it, but they look like they don't know what they're doing. They look like they're a step behind mentally. I'm not saying they have mental issues. They're thinking too much. And when you're thinking too much, you're a step behind. When you're a step behind, the other team is two steps ahead because they're like, oh, you're one-dimensional. That's what we're going to do. To your point, this is one of the Colts being one of the worst run defense so far this season. But their linebackers were making tackles, man. E.J. Speed and Zaire Franklin were all over the field. Those guys, I think they both had double-digit tackles, total tackles. One had 12, one had 14. And they're downhill all day. Why? Because, They're doing this. It's a tell. They're going here. We'll just meet you there. You're pitching it out. Oh, great. We have speed. We'll get there faster than you can block. As opposed to when the Bears had more of the success running the ball when they ran at them. That's just football. It's very obvious. If we all can see that, I don't understand why they can't, when they have success doing it, and they don't come back behind. There are several times with the Bears, a couple of times, and throughout the game where the Bears would have a decent play, passing, get big yards. Okay, first down. And then the next play, they would come after passing, and they'd get about 6 yards running. It's 2nd and 4. Play action. Why? Just run the ball again. What are you doing?
Right.
And now it's 3rd and 4. Or, he loses a couple yards, and it's 3rd and 8. And the Bears had a lot of unnecessary 3rd and longs today because of doing play calling goofs and gaffes like that. It's like Getsy's soul still here, like the spirit. It's like, it's weird, man. It's just really weird, and it's insane. It's insane.
Josh, before you jump in, you can get these takes on the Easy Smoke and GM podcast wherever you get your podcast. Josh, it seemed like you were about to say something. Please go right ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the reason, to Glynn's point, the reason I was so set off by the play calling on the first drive where they settled for the 56-yard field goal is the way this offense is operating right now. Your only job is to not screw your defense. Your job is to not make their life hard because they're playing their ass off. And we were talking to Kevin Byron after the game, and he was like, yeah, we got to play complementary football. Like, we thought we played really well, but we know, like, we gave up a couple explosives and we can't do that. And it's like, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. They're not pitching a shutout. Like, they're just not. It's football. These guys are good too. They're going to give up a 20-yard run, or Jalen Johnson's going to blow a coverage he's still pissed off about. But you can't give Anthony Richardson a short field. Make him go 80 yards every drive. If they're going to beat you, you make him go all the way. You don't settle for 56 yards when Cairo probably can't hit that, and then they're at midfield.
Even going to Glenn's point with Torrey Taylor, why Brett draft Torrey Taylor in the 4th again.
Right.
Situationally, game for game. Your point, it's common sense football. Make a quarterback that hasn't proven that he can pass the football just yet. He's only played 19 games since 20 since high school, including today. Make it so I'm not dissing him, but you saw how off Anthony Richardson was with just how long the ball was on simple passes.
He might end up becoming great, but man, he was terrible.
It's a big question.
He can't throw. Yeah. He can't throw.
Not right now.
He throws at 80 miles an hour, and
everything is speed, and
there's no touch.
But to that point, that's why you should have won today's game. Like that. That's to the point of why this game. Everyone. Also, shout out to Alex Shapiro, our former co-host. He hit me up today to tell us to remind me that we got on him, Josh, about the Colts winning the game. Shout out to Alex on that one for predicting that the Colts were going to beat the Bears today. Shout out our guy real quick. I got 2 more things about offensive questions for you. One, we did see, and even though there were some miscommunications, it's been prevalent with the wide receivers and Caleb. You had the early one with DJ, but even more, several times you had him and fellow rookie first-round pick Rome Odunze still necessarily not on the same accord, but they did end up at times on the same accord, with Rome getting 6 targets for 112 yards and 1 touchdown and a long of 47. Thoughts on what Rome did getting his first touchdown, him and Caleb's first touchdowns through the air today?
Yeah, I think if you're going to take anything good out of what is pretty much an unacceptable loss to a team that is the definition of bleh, like it's just the Colts are just NFL bleh. It's that Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams are starting to click. Like Caleb said after the game, he was like, we've been working hard after practice. Like we are working to get this right. And I told Rome, I'm gonna get you the ball a lot because you're running good routes, you're getting open, and it's on me to get you the ball. And they've been working at it. And I thought, we just spent 35 minutes dogging Shane Waldron for all the crap that he did. But the one thing he did do is they got Rome the ball, right? They said they watched film and they saw that Rome was getting open and how he was getting open. So they used DJ a ton in the first half, and then they came back in the second half and used DJ as a decoy most of the time to get Rome open. That's good coaching. Now you take that principle and we expand it to the whole offense, we might be cooking.
Yeah, I think once you get Keenan Allen back, there's no problems. He's going 72% completion percentage, 350 yards, and 4 touchdowns every day. It's Keenan Allen's fault. If he weren't doing his best impersonation of a Greek warrior, Achilles, and just hanging out and not doing what he's supposed to be doing, we'd be good. No, yes. And again, I said I joked earlier, but I meant it, that there was some good in this game, and particularly with Caleb and the passing. Now, with the pass blocking to me wasn't as bad as it has been the first two games. There were times where there were decent pockets, and Caleb was able to navigate it, step up, move around, but not have to run outside of it. I thought he did a good job of that, especially it seems like he's getting a little bit more comfortable understanding how these guys are blocking for him.
Right.
So that's a little bit for off. That's all I can say for the offensive line. I can't say anything else. Nothing else positive going there.
Wasn't very good. Wasn't very good.
No, not overall, but my point is I saw a bit of improvement. I guess I'll go with that. With Odunze and Kmet. Oh my God, there's a Kmet sighting. Yes. Throw him the ball because he can run and catch and block. He's out there. Why don't you utilize him? Both Odunze and Kmet saw 11 targets. Odunze 6 receptions, Kmet 10 out of 11. Probably one of his better days as a pass receiver at the tight end position in his career so far. And, whatever the play was, it was a good play that got him a touchdown because he was wide freaking. That's one of the rare times I've seen a Bear player receiver schemed open where nobody was around him. I'm like, was that a blown coverage or did we do something right? I'm just going to say we did something right because everything else has been wrong. But Kmet was playing. There was one point when he took a pass, and I thought he got hurt. I thought it was his ribs or something. Yeah. I'm like his hip. I'm like, no, you're doing so good. Now but he stuck it out because he's a tough dude, and the reward for that was a touchdown later on. And so it's good to see that intermediate route. He being Caleb can have confidence in an intermediate route runner in Kmet. With the Odunze, finding him in different levels, a little bit more deep. DJ, I watching this game, I felt the frustration for both DJ Moore and Michael Pittman. Yeah. And they're both of them thinking like, GD, what got me out here catching these passes, and I'm getting cracked as soon as I catch the ball. You got to be in the air. You throw the ball late. Up. Yes.
That was dangerous.
Yes. And at the end of the first half, we sat down making the catch, right? For the long Hail Mary that just fell short, or he caught it, and him being DJ, being able to score, not be able to score, just falling short of scoring. He sat there for a little bit, took his helmet off, and that frustration wasn't just for that moment. That's the season frustration right there. Yes. And I got another half of this, and I know I'm gonna keep my cool, but I ain't happy. And Michael Pittman was having the same kind of frustration. You can see it in their body language. And it's like, man, y'all need to be a little more accurate and throw this ball better because y'all put my career, all these things on the line here, and you got to be better because some of these passes aren't complicated. They're not deep passes. It isn't something like he's doing like a 20-yard dig or he's doing some kind of flag route or it's nothing crazy like that. Some kind of corner route. It isn't. It's like a quick screen and I got to jump back and catch the ball, or you're throwing it to me, but it's running me right into a defender. It's like, come on, man, you got to be better than that. And so I felt their frustrations, both Michael Pittman for the Colts and DJ for us. But that being said, really, the connection with Odunze and Kmet was something to grow on. And that was a positive I took from this game.
Well, the DJ, I think you could kind of tell he's getting frustrated. We talked to him in the locker after the game, and I had to be the one to be like, hey, 4th and 1, speed option at the inch line. What do we think? And he kind of just like stared at me and was like, what do you mean? And I was like, do we like the play call? And he was like,
I can't answer that, bro.
He's like, that's the call. They call it. You got to rock with it. And it's like, I think part of his frustration too is like their inability to run the football is forcing them to throw all these screens because that's the extension of the run game that they have. And he's getting tagged because they can't run the football. And so now they're throwing 15 screens a game. And eventually, I mean, you saw the one where he got tagged. I mean, the corner's playing press coverage. He's like, you're not going deep. You guys don't have that kind of pass protection. I know where this ball's going.
Dude, right. That was so dang. That right there looked like a hip or knee, or that one right. Like also, and I'll put something on Caleb too. Him staring down receivers too can get them hurt. Yeah. Like that. Yes. Like you got to move those DBs. You can't come out of hike like. And I like you. Come on, Caleb. You can't do that. You can't do that. Question real quick on 12 or 13 for both of you. And we haven't seen a lot of them, but there's been every game now, there's been 2 false starts. Old vet Mercedes Lewis, how has he kind of looked? Don't want to jump ahead, but Is Father Time seeming like maybe he's caught his ass?
I mean, maybe he's 40. I mean, if it does, maybe. But I mean, I really just think it's like a lack of execution on offense, and I think it's just seeping into everyone. I think everyone is pressing. I think they're a tick slow, and then I think they get antsy, and they're just making mistakes. And we talked about the hit on DJ. I do want to say, I want to monitor Braxton Jones because I talked to him after the game, and he was able to finish. But I mean, that was a tough. That looked bad initially, and they cannot be. I mean, Braxton Jones. Ken, you and I are not the biggest Braxton Jones guys. They cannot lose. They can't lose Braxton Jones. Like they just can't.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
When he went down, I was like, honestly, like you might as well have Caleb like fake a knee and be like, "Yo, come back next year. We'll get this straight because we can't have you out here behind Matt Pryor at left tackle and Nate Davis at right guard. We just can't. We can't do it."
Yeah, I think as far as what you're saying with Mercedes Lewis and just the whole offensive line, I liken it to a chorus line. You know, if one person's out of step, the whole chorus line looks bad. And right now they're line dancers, and right now the line dancing it ain't moving at the same beat. You know, but really they're clearly they're out of sync, and I don't know if concepts. I don't know if their feet have to be moved differently because of what they're asking to do blocking as opposed to what they've been used to doing. But you can tell, and even some of the ones that really look good, like Wright, a lot of times just looks slow. He's behind. They're holding at times because they're late, and it's like, what are you doing? They're not even moving their feet. That's the bad thing. They're getting beat not because all the time the defensive guy put some great move on them. It's like a step inside, and he's past you. Like, how did he get past you? He just stepped inside. He didn't do a fake. That was his initial move. How'd that happen? It's like I was here and I should have been here. And so right now they need a better line dancer as far as someone's going to teach them. But really, and I don't know how much of this is on Morgan. Morgan's been catching a lot of hell too. Chris Morgan's been catching a lot of hell too. But I really think it's a matter of what Waldron wants, what the offensive schematics are asking them to do, and their ability to execute it without thinking and being pressed upon to be, to have some kind of success. But before we can really work on establishing anything, nothing has been defined or established. They're trying to do something else. It's like, if you haven't perfected this, why are you trying to do 12 other things that are more complex? Right. Perfect the simple stuff, execute that, and then move on from that, which it's weird that you should have to be telling that to professionals when that's pretty much football from grade school, high school, college into the pros. It's really just, execution.
And then one more thing on just before we get off the offense. Having Cole Kmet one-on-one against a defensive end. Woo! Buddy, but can we not? Woo. What are we doing?
It's a rookie. He should have been he's a 4-year vet. He should have been take care of 5-year vet. Should take care of that. Yeah, that was the first defensive player taken, and he was the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah. And his specialty was pass moves and pass rush. Yes. And not only that, but he played against Caleb for 2 seasons. So he's used to what Caleb does. So he probably had an extra read on how Caleb's going to do what he does. And you got to factor that in if you're really going to put him on that guy. That wasn't smart. And again, the ghost of Getsy once again. Right.
But you know what? One, shout out to Latu, because if he wasn't hurt, that he was definitely on this team for me. With the ghost of Getsy thing, I want the ghost of Getsy to whisper to Shane Waldron. And for Shane Waldron, hopefully he's in Getsy's old office, to go and look at how they were successfully running the damn ball last season. Like that's forget what you want to do, because majority of this line, and I would think Shelton is still better than what your centers were last year. Majority of this line is the same guys. Do what they did. Not saying the offense is going to run as well, because your QB isn't the same threat as your quarterback last year with Justin, but still he's a threat. So it's not like you have a stationary quarterback. You can still exploit and put fear into the opposing team's defense with the fact that Caleb can run, but you have to get back. Listen, guys, before we go to defense, do not wait till the bye week to figure out how to run the ball like last season, because that's what the game is going to be, where it's going to be like, you know what? And it's like, dude, these players know, get to it now, because you're wasting games early in the year when the end of the season, we know how rough and tough. And one thing, excuse me, I was with you, Glenn, and I told people this. We've all told people this. The damn Vikings won 7 games last year. The quarterback and the best receiver in football was out. All right. If you didn't realize the Vikings were going to be hard, because people keep assuming, well, it's just, the 4 games that they have against the Lions and Pack, and then the 49ers, they can't beat Seattle right now if you watch Seattle play. And I didn't necessarily know that game was going to be easy before the season start, but if you watched it today,
Seattle give them hell.
Dude.
Yeah.
Right. So people
you had to win this game. These games, these next 4 are the ones you're supposed to win, because when you come out of the bye, after you get Washington and New England, who the Patriots are, they're bad. But after that, I mean, there's no let up. You got to be right.
Yes. Did anybody see Carolina play today? Looked a lot
different. We can't do that today. We can't do that.
Man, Andy. I mean, man,
we can't do that today.
It's been a bad week for Bryce Young.
Andy Dalton. Listen, the worst part about how well Andy Dalton played, it further showed the Bears' offensive ineptitude. That's the worst part, because I know Andy Dalton was like, I've been had this, right? And it was just what in the world? Everything we do on the offensive side turns to coal, basically, right? It's like
look at Mooney. Look at Mooney last week.
Yeah.
They're done. Yeah, right. Yeah, yes.
Did you see the Rams come back from double digits and beat San Francisco?
Yes.
Without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp
and 3/5 of their offensive line. Yeah.
You're right. Did you see? And Kyron Williams still run for 2 touchdowns.
You want to know why? Coaching.
All right, let's flip over to the defense real quick, and then we'll kind of find out, was there anything said in the press conference or locker room that Josh wants to mention. Defense, 1 sack on Anthony Richards, 3 quarterback hits, 2 T4Ls, Sweat with 2, and Austin Booker with another, and 5 pass deflections. Jonathan Taylor, for the stud he is, only 110 yards. I really mean that, because their offense was one-dimensional. And he took care of that. Listen, he showed you why he's a special running back. Some of those jukes and some of how he opened up was just like, I want me one of those.
Patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great point. But Josh, your thoughts on the defense this game?
Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with the defense. I mean, like we said, they're just not going to play perfect. Not every week is not going to be the Titans game where they get you a couple turnovers and one's a pick 6. And one sets you up at the 10, right? They're going to give up a 44-yard explosive to Alec Pierce, and then they come right back and pick it off in the end zone. That's great. They're just going to. I mean, they gave up 21 points, man, and 7 of them came on a strip sack at the 18, the 15. Once again, to our point earlier, you cannot be harming this defense. You cannot put them in a position where they are going to give up points, because if you make the opposition try to drive 80 yards on this defense, more times than not, the defense will come through, because the defense is really, really freaking talented, but they are human, and they will get got eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts scored 14 points off of turnovers.
Right.
Their offense really generated 7 points, if you really want to get
their offense stunk.
It wasn't very good, but to your point, Ken, I do want one of those too. Those running backs. That's how we used to have. I grew up with one of those. It's special. And again, to that point, I know the NFL was different back then when Peyton was playing, but the point being, running backs, special running backs, they can carry your team for not just 1 or 2 games, but for several games, especially if utilized in an efficient and effective manner. And that's what. And again, coaching. Steichen's like, okay, look, you know what, Richardson, you're killing us. Let's go with our guy. We're going to run the ball, because I have not just a running back, I have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL as well. Right. So why am I not using that? Duh. It's like he had a duh moment. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
We're going to ride this guy.
The dumb moment came after the second pick to start the third quarter, when he airmailed by about 5 yards. He was like,
oh my God, it was so bad.
No more. Because Shane Steichen realized what Brian Callahan did, which was honestly, we could just punt the ball down to the 5 and we're going to win this game.
Right.
So, that's good coaching, right? It's cool. All we have to do is not turn the ball over. Great.
Yeah.
Real quick, check out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Glenn. No,
not fine. By all means.
check out Josh's articles. Josh, I don't want all of them, but with your grades for this game, can you give us a couple of the grades so everybody can go read the rest of your article?
Yeah, what do you want? Or just give me what do you want? What do you want? I mean, they're not good.
You know what? Give me a positive and a negative one, or give me 2 negative ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, coaching is F-. It's all bad. It's F-. It's terrible. I cannot. I will belabor this point all week. It's an unacceptable loss. It's inexcusable the way they lost the game. That you didn't even really try to win, to me, by throwing it 52 times against the worst run defense in the NFL. You just punted on it and put too much on Caleb. F- on coaching. I mean, B. I think it would B or B plus on pass defense. Like, honestly, like Richardson, 50 completed 50% of his passes, other than the 2 explosive plays. He didn't do much, man. I mean, they had the interception in the end zone. I mean, both the interceptions, they just threw it right to him. But I mean, that's great. I mean, I thought they were good defensively, honestly. Like Jonathan Taylor, I know he had 110 yards, but like to what Glenn and I were talking about earlier, like the Colts did what the Bears refused to do, which was like, we're just gonna hit the rock over and over and over again, and eventually we end up with 4.5 yards a clip. And that's, guess what? You do that 3 times, that's a first down.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I was going to say, if you think about the third quarter, I think it was 3 minutes and about 32 seconds left in the third quarter before the Colts got their first down in the second half.
Right.
I mean, they weren't doing anything. It's my point. They weren't doing anything. And you helped them by putting Caleb in situations to where something could happen, sack, fumble happen, and there you go. You have to give them some more points. So, I mean, the Bears did a great job in stopping them when, Richardson threw that horrible decision. It got tipped, but it was a horrible decision to begin with anyway. And the Bears, did that. Their defense, so the defense was doing its job, but you can't ask them to do everything all the time, every time. And that's a problem right now. So I'm with Josh. The coaching, that was I'd say that's 85+% the loss was coaching. Whatever the game plan was going into it, how you didn't adjust properly afterwards, and then how you compounded mistakes that the players are making. Right.
I think, the lack of adjustments is the concerning thing, right? Like, you could come in with a plan and be like, okay, we think the Colts are going to do X, Y, and Z on defense. This is how we're going to combat it. And then when you show up and you can still run it for 6 yards a clip up the middle, okay, why don't we just do that? Let's just do that. Let's not drop back out of 11.
Any news or notes from the locker room or post-game pressers, Josh?
No, man, I think the frustration is bubbling. I think you could tell. I mean, there was a lot of talk about, just from DeAndre Swift straight up started his scrum with I want to apologize to the defense for the entire offense. It's like, this is completely unacceptable. I mean, I just think, and we've talked about this, I think there was so much hype, so much talk about how good this offense was going to be. And it's not that they're falling. I mean, they're falling woefully short. I mean, I thought DeAndre Swift was going to have a massive year. It's been horrible. It's not all his fault. The line is terrible. And I think they're just getting frustrated. And I think the defense, to that effect, is also getting frustrated because they're like, yeah, man, we told you, we'll carry you guys. We don't have a problem with that. But, eventually, you do have to pick us. You got to return the favor at some point, right? Eventually, we're going to give a big play. We're going to give up a touchdown, and we need you to respond for us because, we can have your back, but it can't just be us all the time. And I think these next 2 games are going to be really important. I mean, obviously the Rams have the coaching advantage. They are so banged up. Once again, the Bears, they should win. They should win that game. They should beat the Panthers. But if they're 2-3 going to London or 1-4, I'd be I don't know. I just don't know what you do then because the coaching staff has not shown the ability to adjust. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. You know that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. The coaching staff has just not shown the ability to adjust outside of the bye week or outside of the mini bye week, right? There's been no evidence that they can on the fly be we're going to change up everything on 3 days notice. They're just going to keep doing this until they get to the bye week and then they'll probably figure it out. And if, like I said, they can't be hoping that Keenan Allen can't be a cure-all. That cannot be the answer.
That's
just like that.
Right there. It's right there. The thing that really, and I'm gonna do my best to contain my frustration because I I don't understand this. What are we doing with the players that we have who are DNP'd and the ones that we have that we put on the roster but then don't use them? Like, what are we doing here? I don't understand that. You know, you got Carter DeAndre trying to block somebody. It's like, if you're going to use some small receiver, you got Colin Johnson, just use him for that. He's a big body. I mean, if you're gonna have a receiver have to do something, have your big receiver do it. You know, Tyler's not playing. Like, what is he not effective? Like,
why isn't he? I don't know. I don't understand the Tyler thing. I feel like Tyler should be playing. I'm good on DeAndre Carter.
Right, but again, it's like, okay, I thought you were keeping Carter because you didn't trust Velus. So what are we doing with Velus? Why is he still on the team? And again, let's put out there, I'm a volunteer. I'm off my balls, but I don't understand why the dude is on the team, because it doesn't seem like you're doing anything to help him get past his last mistake, because that's still on his mind. So again, you're not helping your players get better, and it's pissing me off, because it's like, what are we doing here? What's not just what is our, and by our I mean the Bears, what is the Bears' identity? But
they don't have one.
Are you?
They don't have one.
What are you doing? Like, what are you? Like, what is your goal? Are you trying to develop this quarterback? And if so, why aren't you doing things that keep him safe and keep him moving progressively? Why are you now acting like he's a 4-year veteran?
Right.
You run the risk, and it's early. It's still the third game. I get it. I do. And I tell everyone to take a deep breath, and I'm taking a breath too. But you run the risk of messing up this quarterback. And I promise, and it's a horrible if, but they're making me have to consider this based on these 3 games. If you ruin this pick, I don't know, in my lifetime, I'll be deceased before somebody would want to come to Chicago and be a wide receiver or a quarterback willingly. You're going to have to trade to bring someone here kicking and screaming, because you will have ruined in a modern day. You would have seen them ruin. I won't say ruin Trubisky, but you didn't help him. You didn't help Trubisky help himself. You've seen that you've messed up Justin. And to Josh's point earlier, you've seen everybody else leave here and start to do well. And then you take the first pick overall, a Heisman Trophy winner, talented, all the Mahomes comparison, and you made him into, I don't know, pick your bad quarterback reference. If you ruin this young man, or you get him hurt because he's taking sacks, the same problems he had at USC that we talked about, holding on to the ball too long, taking sacks, having fumbles, because he had a lot of fumbles. He didn't lose all of them. He had a lot of fumbles were forced off of him.
Yep.
We're seeing that happen right now. How did we see that? We're not paid the money that they're paid to be these coaches. We don't have that kind of experience. Malik Willis, 27 days.
That part. Yeah, we'll end.
27 days.
We'll end with that.
27 effing days, and he's 2-0 with 3 touchdowns.
Well,
over 400 yards total offense, and no turnovers.
Right. Well, and I think, Ken, we can wrap it up here, but we talked about this when they made the decision to keep Blues, and that was one of the reasons it didn't make sense, right? You knew you were drafting this quarterback, and you wanted to pair him with a head coach who can develop him and who's on the same timeline, because eventually we're going to get to a point in this season where Matthew Eberflus is going to need to win to keep his job. And not only win, but win while developing Caleb Williams. That's a really hard ask. And you run the risk of having your head coach, do things that do not benefit Caleb Williams in the long run because he's trying to win football games because he knows his job is in the line. Like, I don't know, dropping back 52 times.
At one point, and I'll end it on this. At one point, you're going to have to look at the fact of, regardless of the outcome of what Matt Eberflus does this season, you're going to have to look at his job in totality, because you can't keep playing this game where he can kind of make it better at the end, particularly now since there's more talent, and assume that the beginning of the season isn't going to be different from the beginning of the start of the seasons prior to this. You're going to have to say, sir, and I'm not saying that this right now, and this is for Ryan Post, sir, I appreciate it, but we have to turn the page on this because of everything Glynn just said as far as offensive play callers and how they've been ruined here so far. And you're gonna have to do something. There's a name. We won't do it. It's early in the season. This isn't that type of podcast. Back channels. I'm joking. Glynn Johnson. I'm with. We were all of it. And again, we're playing everybody. It's early. They should be able to figure this out. The only problem is we're asking for them not to have to always figure it out during the season. Like that's you kind of knew what you were. You get to Josh's point with the defense. We don't expect the defense to be world beaters 24/7 because they're pros out there. Everyone has studs for the most part. You saw what Andy Dalton did with the Panthers. Like everybody has guys for the most part if you can coach them properly, or if they're just crafty vets that know what to do and they can get protection to do what they need to do. I want to thank Glynn Morgan. Again, check him out. Easy Smoke in the GM. Always a pleasure joining us here on Under Center or being on Football Night in Chicago with us or with any host that was on there. Glynn, really appreciate you for coming on and being here with us as we're running out this last string. Josh and myself as the Under Center close. NBC Sports goes dark, everybody. I think that most people know that. Josh, you're my guy. We still got a little bit more before we get out here. The wonderful Claire and the wonderful Tony. Listen, we want to bring happiness to all of you. All right. But we want to be honest also. Glynn, did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying Alex. You were mentioning names. I was just saying Alex as well.
Oh, definitely. We're going to get Alex more props before we get out of here. Don't worry. Alex is going to get. No, I know he's a guy. He's going to get his props. We gave him his props before. Alex will get our last episode props as we got like 2 episodes left, maybe. But 2 episodes left. Always appreciate it. We look forward to giving you the preview game and then next week's wrap-up game as we go dark on NBC Sports. One thing, and go along with Glynn being here, and Glynn being one of those people, I want to say this for Josh and myself, Claire and Tony. There are a lot of wonderful people that worked at NBC Sports. The staff, the behind-the-scenes people, and I'm not just saying that because Glynn is here, were some of the nicest, best people that you can meet. Anybody that's worked at a job with people that you didn't like, that was not our experiences at NBC Sports. And I want to tell those people thank you for making work a pleasure, providing us with information, fun, looking out to make sure we looked and sounded our best. So I want to thank, I don't want to name names because I don't want to forget anybody, but I want to thank everybody who provided what they provided for us and made NBC Sports for my short time, for Josh's short time there, made it such a pleasure to work at NBC Sports. Thank you all. We definitely appreciate it. Everybody, we will see you in a couple of days with the preview episode. And then next week is it. There's no sadness. You can go watch this on the new station, so enjoy it over there. But we're closing out, everybody. We'll see you in a few days here on Under Center Podcast.
Real quick, if I can. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for allowing me to be part of this. You guys could have been like, yeah, just stick behind the camera, stop talking. We don't want to hear you. But you guys were welcoming and ingratiating. And thank you very much for you guys being so gracious. Claire, especially a big shout out to you for always being positive, helping me out with everything. Tony as well. And everybody, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this, to come from behind the camera, be in front of the camera, to share some of the talks and thoughts and everything that we've had. It's been great. It's been fun. I look forward to doing it more and doing with you guys as well, whether it's here, obviously it won't be, but even somewhere else down the line. It's a joyous thing. And thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you. I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, man. Thank you. All right, y'all. Go ahead, Josh. You got something to say? We can get out of here?
No, I'm saying.
Claire, I'm joking.
Echo what you said, Ken. It takes a lot of work to make guys like you and me seem smart on TV, and that was all Glynn and everyone behind the scenes. So shout out to them. We don't do anything but sit down and try not to sound stupid.
And on that, we're out. Thank you, everybody.
Congrats, you finished the video. If you want to build on that success, download the NBC Sports Chicago app. It's got highlights, exclusive insights, and push alerts tailored to you. Everything you need to be a real Chicago sports fan. Download it now.